communities and in societies. The Greeks believed that theater even had this kind of, you might say, healing power or transcendent power. They would recommend that you bring people that are grieving, people that are scared or worried or have mental illness or anxiety even, to come to the theater and to sit with others and to hear stories. And I just think that that's beautiful. And I experienced that too in sitting in the theater. We live in such a busy, crowded, loud, distracted world. And it's just, I took great joy last night just sitting in a dark room for about 70 minutes and just taking in a story. It was a gift. So we are so glad that you're here, and we hope that this story is a gift to you in some way. As I mentioned, it's about 70 minutes. There's no intermission. Afterwards, we'll have the cast stick around in costumes and take pictures after the show, because I know you guys love that. And and otherwise, we just really are grateful that you're here and hope you enjoy Antigone by Sophocles.
Traitors, people we love. No one has told me anything. Antigone, I have heard nothing, neither good nor bad, about anyone we love. Not since the battle, and the news that both of our brothers were dead. One day, one battle, one fratricide, twice over, each brother cutting down his own flesh. And the army from Argos retreated last night. I have heard that. Nothing else to cheer me up or to press me further. I'm glad you hadn't. That's why I asked you here to meet me, where I could tell you everything without any risk of being overheard. What is it then? More terrible news, something black and frightening, I can see that. Well, what do you think this means? Perhaps you can guess. We have two brothers, both of them dead, and Creon has decreed that a decent burial shall be given to one, but not the other. Eteocles apparently has already been buried with full military honors and formalities due to the dead meticulously observed, so that his rest in the underworld among the heroes of the dead is assured. Polynices, who died in agony, just as certainly as his brother did, is not to be buried at all. The decree makes that quite plain. He is to be left unburied, lying where he fell, with no tears and no ceremonies of mourning, to stink in the open, till kites and vultures catch the scent and tear him to pieces and pick him to the bone, left unburied. There is no rest for him in the underworld, any more than here. What a great king our Creon is, eh, sister? It's against us, you realize, against me in particular, that he has published this decree. And he'll soon be here himself to make it public to the senators and to anyone who may not have heard it. He isn't bluffing. He means to act, to make it stick. The punishment for anyone who disobeys the order is public stoning to death. So that's the news, and you know it now. The time has come for you to stand and to be counted, and to show whether you are worthy of the honor of being Oedipus's daughter. Wait a minute, Antigone, don't be so headstrong. If all this is as you state is, what can I do? One way or another. Just say you will help me. Commit yourself. Do what? Something dangerous? Just to give me a hand to lift the body. To bury him, you mean, in spite of the decree. He is my brother. Like it or not, he is yours too. I won't betray him now that he's dead. No one will ever throw that in my face. You must be mad. Creon has publicly forbidden it. He can't forbid me to love my brother. He has neither the right nor the power to do that. Have you forgotten what happened to our father? Content and loathing from everyone, even from himself. That was his reward. And blinded too by his own hand. And his mother, wife match with him? And as those two words are with each other, she knotted a rope and hanged herself. Now both of our brothers, caught in the same trap, claiming blood for blood and death for death, each one at the expense of the other. We are the last ones left, sister. And what a death is promised for us, more terrible than any, by defying the king and the power of the state. Think for a moment and take me, please. We are the last ones left, and we are women. That is all. Physically weaker and barred from any political influence. How can I fight against the institutionalized power of the male sex? They are in power, and we have to obey them this time. It may be in worse times than this. And may the gods forgive me, the spirits of the dead, but I have no choice. State parliaments, and I must do as I am told. We are powerless. Wild gestures and heroic refusals are reserved for madmen.
Say no more. I won't ask again. In fact, if you were to offer help now, I would refuse it. Do as you please. Live. By all means. I intend to bury my brother. And if I shall die in the attempt, I shall die in the knowledge that I have acted justly. What greater satisfaction than that for a loving sister to embrace a loving brother and to be condemned for a criminal act of seeing him at peace? Our lives are short. We've little time to waste on men and the laws they make. Do as you please. Live. By all means, the laws you will break are not of man's making.
I reverence them, but how can I defy the limited power of the state? What weapons of mine are strong enough to do so?
Fine, that's a good excuse. I'll go shovel dirt on my brother's body.
Antigone, be quiet for God's sake. Don't tell anyone, and I'll keep our meeting secret. This obsession will destroy you. You're starting to fail.
Be quiet. Before I begin to despise you for talking so feebly, you can go now. Go. If I am mad, you can leave me here in my madness, which will doubtless destroy me soon enough. Death is the worst thing that can happen, and some deaths are more honorable than others.
I'm frightened, Antigone. I'm frightened for you.
Don't be frightened for me. Fear for yourself.
If you made up your mind, Antigone, it's madness. But whatever happens, remember, I still love you.
Down like a rock from the mountain crest, Polynices came thundering to earth. The flame dashed from his head.
The son of Thebes, whose best hope of fame was to conquer his native land and failed at his quest.
For the war god gave us his word of command. Like a battle train, his terrible name ran them down where they stood, and they died in the dust.
Now in each of our 7 gates, a Theban defender waits, 7 champions great fame and armor to fight, and before the coming of the night.
6 have put their fame to the test. 6 have laid both fame and armor to rest.
As a great tribute to Zeus's feet,
At the 7th gate, 2 brothers meet.
Antigone and Polynices, brothers to Antigone and its meaning,
Sons of Oedipus and his mother Bride, sharing their blood in death as in birth.
Each striking together, each laying the other.
Death on the earth.
Now Creon is king. He has made the most of his fortune and the god's choice. As the people rejoice, the new king enters to take his throne.
Why has he called us here to debate an emergency session, his vital proclamation, so vital to the state?
Senators, our country, like a ship at sea, has survived the raging storm. The gods who sent it have navigated us into calmer waters now. I have chosen to summon this assembly because I know I can trust you. Your predecessors were loyal and reliable in King Laius' time, and when King Oedipus, in his exceptional wisdom, restored the fortunes of this city, and when tragedy struck him and his rule was ended, your loyalty to the blood royal was never questioned. And you supported his sons until they too were brought down in a single day, incestuously murdered, each brother shedding a brother's blood. By that same blood right, as next of kin, I claim the throne. I claim it, and I hold it as mine by right. There is no certain measure of a man's quality, the depth of his intellect, the maturity of his judgment, until he is put to the supreme test by the exercise of lawful power in the state. I intend to make it clear that never under my administration will anyone who commits crimes against the state ever reap any benefit from their actions. The state, the fatherland, is everything. The ship we sail in, if she sinks, we all drown. I have issued an official state decree concerning the sons of Oedipus, Eteocles, who died fighting for his country. And with exceptional bravery, I have ordered that he is to be buried with all the honors and ceremonies customary of a man who died a hero. Now the other, the outcast, the exile, his brother Polynices, I have ordered that he is to have no grave at all. No one is to bury him or mourn for him. His body is to be left open, uncovered, a stinking feast for the dogs and crows and scavengers, a sight to inspire terror. Never will anyone who commits crimes against the state reap any benefit for their actions, and at the expense of common decent citizens too.
Creon, you are now king. You have delivered your verdict and sentence upon the man who defended the city and the man who attacked it, unambiguously. The full power of the law is in your hands, and it binds the living as well as the dead. We are all at your command.
Make sure then that my orders are carried out. Polynices' body is already under guard. No intrigue with dissidents or subversive elements.
Lord Creon, we know the law and the penalty for breaking it.
Which will be death, and be in no doubt that I shall enforce it. Because there are always men who are willing to sell themselves, even if death is at risk, if the price is high enough.
My Lord Creon, sir. If I can hardly speak for lack of breath. It's not because I ran. I kept stopping, as a matter of fact. Half a dozen times, and I hung about as much as I dared. I haven't thought so much about anything in a long time, but listen, don't hurry, I said to myself. But if Lord Creon hears this from somebody else, you're really in trouble. So, I hurried here as slowly as I could, going round and round in circles in my head as well as with my feet.
Talk sense, man. Why are you frightened?
First of all, sir, for myself, like my own point of view, I never done it. And I don't know who done it either. So, I shouldn't be punished for it, should I?
Is there any need for all this preamble? You take great care to disassociate yourself. This must be bad news.
It is bad news, sir. I do not know how to put it for the best.
In the plainest way, and then we can have done with you.
Straight out the pen. The body's buried. Someone or other, a handful of dust. That's all. Just dry dust. You know, religiously. And then gone. Whoever it was.
Who has dared to disobey my law?
No way of knowing, sir. We have no idea. There's been no digging, no spade marks or nothing. The ground is rock hard, so there's no track from chariot or cart or anything. It's almost as though some passing stranger with a religious turn of mind, none of it being left unburied, means everlasting anguish and wandering without Christ in the afterlife forever, and scattered every handful. When the century taking an early turn, discovered it happened, we were all shattered and scared stiff. The bloke who brings the bad news never gets a medal.
Lord Creon, this policy of yours has worried me from the start. My political instinct tells me that this may be some sort of warning or sign, and perhaps from the gods.
How to think twice over that stinking pile of meat, that they would give a damn if he is buried or not. Oh no, they do not. But there are men in this city, and I have noted them, a subversive faction, enemies of the state, a cell of oppositions, call them what you will, who defy my law and my leadership. They meet in secret and nod and whisper. They are behind this. Any fool can see that. And their bribery has suborned my soldiers. Money, gentlemen, money it is that infects mankind with every sickness we have a name for. Well, whoever it was, these men who have sold themselves, I think they will find that the price is considerably higher than they first thought it was. You, soldier, come here. Get this into your head. By Zeus, my God whose power I revere, I swear to you, soldier, either you will find the man who buried Polynices' body in defiance of my express command, the actual man who sprinkled the earth, standing here before me, or you, soldier, will certainly die for it. And death will be the least of your punishments. You will be made a public example, kept standing and beaten across the feet, interrogated by the secret police, the whole repertoire of special techniques at which we excel so much at, until you confess the full range of this conspiracy. Who paid you? How much? And for what purpose? The choice is yours.
Am I allowed to speak, sir?
No! Why should you speak? Every word you say is against me. Find him or die!
Let's hope they find him, whoever he is. But there's one thing I'm sure of. They won't find me.
Is there anything greater on earth, our marvelous planet, than the miracle of man? With what arrogant ease he rides the dangerous seas, from the waves towering submit to the yawning dragon. The Mother Earth herself, before time began, and the oldest of the ageless gods learned to endure his driving plow, turning the earth and breaking the clods, till by the sweat of his brow she yielded up her full
The quick-witted birds are no match for him, neither victim nor predator among the beasts of the plain nor the sea's seething masses. His cunning surpasses their instinct. His skill is the greater. His snares never fail, and his nets teem. The wild bull of the savage mountain, and the magnificent stag that passes like a king through the upland glen, and the untamed horse with his matted tresses uncut on his neck all submit to man, and the yoke, and the bit, and his power increases. He has mastered the mysteries of language and thought, which was faster than the wind. He has tamed and made rational. Political wisdom, too. All knowledge, all practical arts of government he has studied and refined. Built cities to shelter his head against rain and danger and cold, and ordered all things in his mind. There is no problem he cannot resolve by the exercise of his brains or breath, and the only disease he cannot solve or cure is death. In action, he is subtle beyond imagination, limitless in skill, and these gifts are both enemies and friends, as he applies them with equal determination to good or evil ends. All men honor, and the state lifts up that man to the heights of glory, whose powers uphold the Constitution, the gods, and their laws. His city prospers he shifts his ground and chooses the wrong path, despising morality, blown up with pride, indulges himself and his powers. At my hearth may he never warm himself or sit by my side.
But wait, I can't believe my eyes. Can this be true? This is Antigone. I recognize her as clearly as I can see you. Her father's destiny was suffering and pain, and in his progeny, misfortunes reigned.
Child, did you openly disobey the new king's orders and bury your brother?
You have to man him over this way.
We saw it. Actually burying the body. Caught him in the act, as they say, red-handed. Only, it's not a him, it's a her. We caught her actually setting the grave to rights. And now she's yours. Take her, accuse her, stone her to death if you like. But by right, free to go. And well shot of all evidence.
So you saw her doing it. Tell me the details.
Sir, she was burying the body. What else is there to say?
Do you realize the implications of what you're saying?
Sir, she was burying the body that you ordered not to be buried. I can't speak plainer than that.
Did you catch her in the act? Did you see her doing it?
Well, gentlemen, it went like this. As soon as I got back, remembering all those threats or promises you made me, we brushed all the dirt off the naked body, which was all wet and beginning to be carried by now. We sat up on the ridge well to the windward of the stake. For hours we sat there till about midday. The sun was smack overhead blazing down, and the heat was something terrible, I can tell. And then it was as though a whirlwind would blow. Definitely as for circles, but localized. Like in a blue wood dust storm which swept across the plain, tore the leaves off all the trees, blotted out the whole sky. It was like some terrible manifestation of the gods. You had to close your eyes to endure it. And then, suddenly, it stopped. And when the air cleared, we saw this girl standing there and wailing, as if she were in pain or maybe angry, like a bird who comes back to the nest and finds all the eggs smashed and the fledglings gone. That's what she sounded like. And she was screaming and cursing. They're monsters who had done such a thing. Us, of course. And then she crouched down. She carried with her an urn. It was a small ceremonial bronze thing. She poured from it 3 times. Honey and wine and stuff, I suppose. All the proper ritual for a funeral. As soon as we saw that, we rushed down there and arrested her on the spot. She wasn't frightened or angry. She stood her ground. And when we formally charged her with the crime, this and the one before, she admitted. And we were relieved. And sad, too. It's nice getting out of trouble yourself. It's not so nice when you put someone else who you've got no quarrel with right up in the aggravator. But I suppose your own life comes first. You've got to look after number one.
And you with your head down, what do you say to this accusation? Do you admit it? Are you guilty or not?
Yes, I'm guilty. I don't pretend otherwise.
You, soldier, get out. You're cleared of all charges against you and free to go back to your unit. Now, tell me a simple yes or no. Did you hear of my order forbidding his burial?
Of course I heard it. How could I not?
And yet you dared to disobey my law.
Yes, I did, because it's your law, not the law of God. Natural justice, which is of all times and places, not material. The quality of gods. Natural justice recognizes no such law. It speaks the language of eternity. You are merely a man, mortal, like me. And the laws you enact cannot overturn ancient moralities of common human decency. True law is for today, yesterday, and all time. No one understands where they came from, but everyone recognizes their force, and no one can make me disobey them. I shall die, of course, sometime, whether you make laws or not. If my death comes sooner rather than later, I shall welcome it. My life has been misery, is misery now. I shall be more than happy to leave it, but to leave my mother's son out there in the open, unburied, that would have been unbearable. I could not have borne it, whereas this, I shall endure. In your eyes, I am a fool, but by mine is the judge, not the accused who's behaving foolishly.
Is her father speaking stubborn like him? She won't give way, not if the power of the state against her.
This woman is very very proud. She glories in the crimes she has committed and insults me to my face. If she is allowed to flout the law, the state will collapse. I will not have that. Now, there will be no exchanging of roles here. Me playing the woman while she plays the king? She is my niece, my sister's daughter. But I am the law. The other one is Meanie. I saw her out in the corridor. Bring her here. She was talking to herself and sobbing emotionally like a madman. Guilty consciences, you see, can never be hidden.
What more do you want? Kill me and have it done with.
Nothing more than your death. That will be enough.
So what are you waiting for? I have buried my mother. I aspire no greater honor. And if I am to be famous, let it be for that. All these senators of yours, they all agree with me in their hearts. But there's no gag-like terror, is there, gentlemen? And tyrants must have their way, both in word and in action. That is their privilege.
You are wrong. None of the Thebans anywhere in the city think as you do.
They all do, but they keep their mouths shut when you're here.
Not at all, and you should be ashamed, setting yourself up against the majority, disregarding the will of my people.
I love my brother. There is no strength in that.
If you honor one, you insult the other.
Neither of those dead men would say that.
Antigone's what his brother was a traitor,
He was not an animal. They both died together, and they were both men.
and one died defending his city, while the other traitorously attacked it.
The dead have their rights, and we have our duties towards them, dictated by common decency, natural justice.
And what of our values then? Patriotism, civic duty? An enemy is still an enemy, dead or alive.
I was born with love enough to share. No hate for anyone.
Share your loves. By all means, share it with the dead. I wish them well of it. But women must learn to obey as well as men.
Senators, is Meanie weeping for her sister. Her face is flayed with misery. This disaster flushes her cheeks with anguish, not beauty.
And you, snake, slithering silently about my house to drink my blood in secret. Do you confess of your complicity in this crime?
Yes, I confess if she allowed me to do so. I was fully involved. If she is guilty, then so am I.
No, that isn't justice. When I asked you for help, you refused me. And so I told you I didn't want you. I do it alone.
But now that you're in danger, Antigone, I am proud to stand beside you.
The dead man knows who buried him. What use are people who are all words and no action?
Please don't despise me, my sister. Let me share the honor and die with you.
You have no right to claim the honor of what you were afraid to do. One death won't be enough. Why should you die?
Because life without you won't be worth living.
Save your own life. Do that for yourself.
For God's sake, Antigone, will you not allow me to share my death with my own sister?
You chose to live, and I chose to die, and that is the end of it.
We were both in the wrong and both condemned.
No, you must live. I am well suited to be the honor to the dead and die for it.
These women are neurotic, lunatics, both of them. You lost your senses when you let yourself be influenced by her lunacy.
There's no life for me here, not without my sister.
Don't speak of her, she's as good as dead.
You killed the woman your son plans to marry.
My son will never marry a criminal.
But they're devoted to each other. You can't change love as you change your clothes.
There is no lack of choice for a young man. Other fields to plow. What does his mistress matter to me?
Lord Kuna, you insult your own. They are betrothed to each other, pure in their love. Will you tear the wound from your own son's arms?
Death parts all lovers sooner or later. Take them away. Lock them up. It's time they learned that they are women and their place in this society. There's nothing like death to soften their rhetoric and make them look reality in the face.
They can call themselves lucky, the fortunate few who spend their lives through never drinking from the bitter cup of pain. But when one unlucky family incurs God's malignity, From generation to generation, they must swallow that bitter potion again and then again, just as rollers crash and sea spray whips on an exposed beach and black clouds lower, and the gale from the north screams through frozen lips. So the sea casts up from its depths a shower of pebbles on the shore, and the black sand from the chasms of the ocean darkens the strand.
On every descendant of the ancient line of Labdacus, Oedipus family, divine and merciless retribution fall. In the unremembered past, some unforgiving Olympian god must have cast the weight of his vengeance on the whole race, so that agony, destruction, and disgrace destroy son and daughter, and darken their halls with tragedy. The cold hands of the dead reach out for the living, and no one is spared. Another generation sheds its blood. New light is snuffed out. The young root bared for the same bloody axe. The characteristic sin of Oedipus, arrogance, brings its bleak harvest in.
For Zeus is all powerful. No man can match him. He never sleeps as man must sleep. And time, which leaves its mark on fair complexions and dark, can never engrave his face or dim the brightness of his palace, where the gods keep their ageless court at the utmost peak of sublime Olympus. Zeus is master there, and well did that wise man speak, who said that all past and future time he holds in his hand by right, and that those who climb in their greatness or wickedness beyond the permitted height, he brings to destruction and despair.
But all men hope, and some have ambition, far-ranging birds that never tire. Those wings bear some men steadily onward, while others aimlessly swoop and glide down to frivolous pastures, landscapes of obsession, pathways to disaster, and the merciless fire. And no man can claim to have understood hope or ambition till the flames burn under his feet, and the once solid wood of his life is reduced to its last condition, ashes and dust. A wise man said, from out of the depths of his inspiration, that when a man commits a crime and is proud of the action, a flaming sword hangs over his head. No future but the grave and a funeral urn.
Creon, here comes your youngest son. Perhaps does he come to beg for mercy for his beloved Antigone?
We shall see that from his own lips without the need for any fortune tellers. My dear son, I don't doubt you have heard the news of our final decision, the condemnation of the woman you intended to marry. You come here, not in any spirit out of anger, I hope, but in understanding that we are always comrades, and my love for you is unshaken.
I know I'm your son, Father. I understand the depth of your experience in matters of state, and I try to follow and benefit from it whenever I can. Any marriage would be worthless to me that did not have your approval and love.
Good fellow, hang on that. A father's opinion should always be influential with his son. Don't be taken in, boy. Don't be lured by any of the attractions that lure infatuated men into submission. God help the lovesick fool who marries a dominating woman. Passion never lasts, and a cold bedroom breeds cold hearts, bitterness, and anger. For there's no hatred so violent as the hatred between two people who were once in love. Get rid of her, my boy. She's of no use to you or any of your best interests. Spit her out like poison. She's been openly apprehended, performing criminal acts against the state, and she must die. Indiscipline, anarchy, disobedience. What greater scourge than that for humankind? States collapse from within. efficient armies are disorganized, and potential victory is turned to disaster and carnage, and all by disobedience, anarchy, and discipline. Authority is essential in any state. There will be no yielding to female fantasies. If we must be deposed, let it be by a man's hand, son, and not by the conspiracy of a woman.
If we're fit to judge, Lord Creon, you have spoken rationally and sensibly, and with the wisdom gathered from long experience.
Father, the most enviable of a man's gifts is the ability to reason clearly. And it's not for me to say we're wrong, even if I were clever enough or experienced enough, which I'm not. But it's also true to say that some men think differently about these things. And as your son, our most useful function, it seems to me, is to keep you in touch with what other people are thinking, what they say and do, and approve or disapprove of, and sometimes what they leave unsaid. The prospect of your disapproval is a great silencer in most men's tongues, and some things are never said for fear of consequences. But I can sometimes hear what people whisper behind their hands, and everywhere I hear sympathy expressed for this unfortunate girl, condemned as she is to a horrifying death that no woman has ever suffered before, and unjustly in most people's eyes. In burying her brother, who was killed in action, she did something most people consider decent and honorable, rather than leaving him naked on the battlefield for the dogs to tear at. She should be given a medal for it. Those same people say. Such things are always in secret, Father, when they reach my ears. Sir, your reputation matters to me as much as your good health and happiness do. Indeed, your good name matters more. Let me beg you to have second thoughts, and not be certain that your own opinion is the only right one, and that all men share it. The man of judgment knows that it is a sign of strength, not weakness, to value other opinions, and to learn from them. And when he is wrong, to admit it openly and change his mind. We see it when a river floods. The trees that bend survive. Those whose trunks are inflexible are snapped off short by the weight of water. I beg you, Father, think twice about this. Don't let your anger influence you. If a man of my age may lay some small claim to common sense, let me say this. Absolute certainty is fine. If a man can be certain that his wisdom is absolute. But such certainty and such wisdom are rare among men. And that being so, the next best is to learn to listen and to take good advice when it is offered.
There's a lot of sense, my Lord Creon, in what this young man is saying, as indeed there was in everything you said too. The fact is, you are both in the right. There's a good deal to be said for either.
Is there indeed? Am I expected to take lessons and listen to political tactics from a mere boy?
I'm a man, Father, and my arguments are just. They stand upon their merits, not my age.
Oh, they stand upon their merits, do they? What merit is there, please tell me, in breaking the law?
If she done something shameful, I wouldn't defend her.
She brought the law into contempt. That is shameful!
Listen to the people in the street, Father, the ordinary Thebans. They say she hasn't.
I've never based my political principles on the opinions of people in the street.
Now you're the one who's speaking like a boy.
I am speaking like a king, and I will act according to my own convictions.
When the state becomes one man, it ceases to be a state.
The state is the statesman who rules it.
Go and rule in the desert then. There's nobody there to argue with you. What a king you'll be there.
This boy of mine is on the woman's side.
I'm on your side, Father. I'm fighting for you.
Don't father me. You're a woman's plaything. How am I wrong? By maintaining my position in the state? How is that wrong?
A position and authority, ride roughshod over moral feeling.
You are weak, injurious, and contemptible. Every word you say is against me. You have no will of your own. You're a woman's mouthpiece.
I'm not ashamed of what I'm saying. I plead for you, and for myself, and for common humanity, respect for the dead.
You will never marry that woman. She won't live to see that day.
If she dies, she won't die alone.
Are you threatening me? How dare you threaten?
That's not a threat. I'm telling you, your policy was misbegotten from the beginning.
Misbegotten. Dear God, if anything's misbegotten here, it's my son. You will regret what you have said here.
If If you were my father, I'd say you were demented.
Don't father me. You're a tame lapdog.
Is anyone else allowed to speak? Must you have the last word in everything? Must all the rest of us be gagged?
I must, and I will. You will regret what you have said here today, I promise you. I will not be sneered at or contradicted by anyone. Sons can be punished too. Take her out, the criminal. Let her die, here and now. You may watch the execution.
That's one sight I shall never see. Nor, from this moment, Father, will you ever see me again? Those that wish to stay and watch this disgusting spectacle in company with a madman are welcome to it.
Lord Creon, uncontrollable fury has possessed your son and swept him off like a whirlwind. A young man's anger is a terrifying thing.
Let him go and shout his head off about moral this and decent that. The 2 women are sentenced.
Both of them, sir? You mean to put both sisters to death?
No, you are right. I can take advice. The one who sprinkled the earth, not the other.
And for the condemned one, what manner of death?
Take her to some lonely place, rocky and unfrequented by anyone. Find a cave and wall her up. But with just enough food that none of the guilt can be placed upon me or the state. And then she will have plenty of time to worship the gods of the dead, since they have received so many of her prayers, and they will release her. But she will learn that worshiping the dead is not the business of the living.
Not the business of living. Not the business of living. Not the business of living. Not the business of living.
When the god of unbridled passion makes war, he always wins. No force on earth can withstand his powerful, merciless hand.
This family divided, and this murderous anger between kin.
A man's mind can burn, and its power is frightening.
Its power is frightening.
Yet how can we talk of justice, seeing them two, like a young bride going to her bedchamber to marry the dead and share in their everlasting sleep?
No wedding for me. No guests in the room. My wedding gift is eternity in a stone tomb. Like dowry, forever not to be. Death is my bridegroom. In all my wanderings, this place has been my home. I look up at the sun and the sky, and I feel its warmth on my face, only to say goodbye. In the daytime of my life, in the mid-breath, this security policeman, death, arrests me. As he arrests us all, young and old, at home or in the streets. This is mockery. By everything the city of our fathers ever held sacred, you landowners, you elder statesmen, you rulers of thieves, my dying is no joke. Am I a figure of fun? To be treated like a child? Insulted and humiliated as I leave you forever? You must be my witnesses, my only friends and mourners. As victimized by an unjust law, I go to my last home and the living tomb to wait while darkness descends, cold and starving, on my stony bed, halfway between
stubbed your toe. You will shortly shed your blood on the marble staircase of the law. You carry your father's crimes like a millstone on your back. Small wonder in such times if bones will bend or break.
Be more painful than that. The remembrance of my father's long agony and the curse on my suffering family from the beginning. So much grief for that unlucky chance of the son finding the mother's bed, and worse than anything, the benighted offspring of that unspeakable marriage. And I, with the others, share in that terrible destiny. Conceived in incest, no repentance can soften the punishment. I close that book forever. As I meet my father and my mother in the shades, the weddings will cease.
To pay respect to the dead is praiseworthy, an act of love, and religion must have its due. But no civilized state can eschew authority. Laws must be obeyed, whether we approve or disapprove.
I know the path that I must follow to the sunless country of eternal sorrow. The bleak waters of eternity, the unimaginable years. I must go alone and in silence to my house of stone.
Take her away. Lock her up, with half a mountain for a roof, and brick her up in it. She may die there if she chooses, or if she prefers, let her stay alive in her grave. Why not? Because the grave is the only place fit for her. Solitary confinement among the dead. Whatever she chooses, there will be no guilt upon me. Her death is her own, but there is no place for her among the living.
To my grave then, my honeymoon bed, like prison, like crypt, under the mountain. I shall meet so many of my relations there. We shall all be guests of the same sad-faced queen of shadows, Persephone, in that bleak hotel that is never short of a room. I am booking in too soon. But my father will be there to meet me at the door. My mother will smile and hug me close as she always did. And my brother, he will be glad to see me more than all the rest. At each fresh grave, my hands sprinkled the earth. In each I poured the purifying waters and made offerings. And for this, I am rewarded with a shameful death. Creon sentences me to death. I shall die, unmarried. All those pleasures denied me, and motherhood denied me too. No children to love me, to love. What moral law have I broken? What eternal truths have I denied? Yet now, not even a God can help me. And there is no man who will. I am sure of that. No hope and no hope. How can there be when common decency has become a crime? If this is the way the gods in heaven now will things, and they have changed their minds, I shall have learned my lesson the hard way. But if some others are mistaken, let them be punished as I've been punished, and let them suffer the injustice that I suffer.
She hasn't changed. Even now, the anger inside her still blows like a hurricane.
The sooner she's gotten rid of, shut up, out of harm's way, the better. Guards, get a move on!
This is the land of my fathers, Thebes, built by a god. You see, senators, my time has gone out. There is no more left. I am the last of the royal blood, a daughter of kings, and I died unjustly for upholding justice and the humanity of humankind.
listened and acted upon it more than once.
And like a sensible captain who values his pilot, you've avoided the rocks.
I admit it. We all do. We are in your debt.
Then for God's sakes, listen to me now. You are like a man balanced on a razor, likely to fall or cut himself to pieces.
Any man would shudder hearing that from your lips, which have foretold so many warnings. Tell me what you mean.
Oh yes, I intend to. And everything in my life for foretelling and forecasting the future and reading symbols has made plain to me. I will make plain to you. Or
So writes Tiresias the blind, seer of Apollo. I saw all this, or my voice saw it. He sees for me and writes for me that which my eyes cannot, just as I see things to which other people are blind. I was sitting in my usual seat, a place where I can hear the singing, the secret language of the birds, and understand their meaning. And I heard, quite unexpectedly, a terrible new sound, like shrieking, or cries of anguish, hysterical twittering and whistling like the babble of a barbaric language, only capable of expressing pain or hatred. By that, and the wild beating of wings, I knew the birds were at war. Such sounds could mean nothing else. I could well imagine their blood-stained beaks and dripping claws, and that thought disturbed me deeply. At once I went to my altar to see what I could learn from sacrifice by fire, but nothing would burn. A filthy liquid ran from the flesh and dropped on the embers and sizzled and bubbled among the ashes. Then the gallbladder burst, spurting stinking acid across the meat, and all the fat melted and was rendered down till the bone was left bare. In that filth I read nothing. The oracle was clogged with fat and decay. And then it was revealed. I learned that you, King Creon, have decreed this filth, and the fat and flesh that fills our altars is the fat and flesh of Polynices, the flesh of the unluckiest of sons of Oedipus, still unburied and affronting more than our sense of smell. The gods themselves are disgusted. They reject our prayers and sacrifices. How could they do otherwise? My son, listen to me. Any man can make a mistake or commit a crime. A man who can recognize what he has done and see that he was mistaken or morally wrong, admit it and put it right. That man proves that it is never too late to become wise, and no one will condemn him. But if he is nothing but a fool, and compounds his stupidity, his stubbornness, and obstinate refusal to face the facts, he is nothing but a jester.
is there anyone more stupid than the stupid man who cannot see his own stupidity? Polynices is dead. Is there any glory to be gained by defeating a poor corpse? This is good advice, my son, sincerely offered by someone who wishes you well. Take it.
I am to be the target, am I, for everyone to shoot at. Well, I am wise too, wise in the ways of fortune tellers, in the buying and selling they go in for. I'm to be the latest bargain, am I, to be bought and sold. Well, let me tell you this. There's not enough money in the whole world to buy a grave for that man.
Are there any wise men left anywhere?
Do you know who you're talking to? I'm the king!
You are a king, yes. My good advice helped make you one.
I've never trusted you!
Don't provoke me to tell you everything. The dark waters of prophecy are left undisturbed.
Disturb them, I don't care. Say anything at all, but say it honestly, not for cash.
Are you really foolish enough to believe that money has ever been my motive?
Because my integrity is not for sale.
Listen, Creon, this is the truth. Before many days, before the sun has risen, well, shall we say a few more times, you have made your purchase, corpse for corpse, with the blood of your own child. You have buried the one still living, the woman, the dead man, left unwashed and unwept. You have made an error, Creon. You will suffer as you have inflicted suffering upon others. There will be soon, very soon, screaming, bitter tears, and crying in this household. Dogs and vultures, they will swarm the streets, bringing fragments of the dead man, dropping them on doorsteps, on street corners, and in public squares. They will smell the pollution and turn to you, its author. You have angered me, Creon, with your crude accusation. And like a good horseman, I have moved you my target, and all trumps have hit the bull. Take me home now, boy. Let this man learn mature judgment, and learn our wise man holds his tongue.
We
Neither have I. My mind is torn apart, going this way and then the other. How can I stand here, waiting for disaster? But how can I deny every principle I have stood fast by?
Lord Creon, it's time to take some good advice.
Give it then. Don't be afraid. I'll listen.
Release the woman from her underground prison and give a proper burial to the dead man.
That's your advice? Total collapse!
Wait quickly, for heaven's sake. The gods never move faster than when punishing men for their own actions.
How can I deny every principle and every action I have stood fast by?
Go on, sir. Do it now. And do it personally, with your own hand.
Yes, I will go. Bring shovels and sledgehammers out onto the mountain. I am coming with you.
Let the world sing its hymns in vain. The state's disease is made public. We have done wrong. Now the first necessity is for healing. Over the sighing waters and the endless seas, come to us, healer, and heal. We have suffered too long.
All the stars of the galaxies whose hearts are fire throb to your music. The remote voices of the measureless night speak to the depths of mystery. Bring rest, bring peace, bring healing and rebirth. Let our anguish cease. Ecstatic God whose many names are one. Senators, listen, good people of Thebes. No man's life ever moves smoothly according to plan. Who can make judgment, say this is praiseworthy in human existence, and this is to be despised? When chance was everything, and no man can tell what will happen tomorrow. Everyone surely envied Creon. He had saved his country from its enemies, taken power as king, and his position. Can there be more things that make life pleasant or all is true? A kind of death, moving and breathing, but not moving. That's how it is for him, of course. He's rich beyond accounting, he's a king. Still, with all that pomp and circumstance that rank implies, what's it worth when all the joy of life is gone? A shadow, a mockery, a vulgar pageant. Who can take pleasure in wealth or power when all happiness is dead in his heart?
More tragedy for this family. Tell us your news.
They're both dead, and the living must take the blame.
Who's dead? What happened? Tell us.
The king's son Haman's royal blood shed by a royal hand.
By his father, you mean, or his own?
His own held sword in his father's actions were home.
The prophet warned us, and it all came true.
That's how things are. It's in your hands now.
Look, here's Eurydice. Poor woman. Creon's wife. Does she know?
Gentlemen, good friends, my ears have caught something of what you were saying. A few words as I opened the door. I was on my way to offer Persepolis Athene, and we had just drawn back the bolts when I heard a few scraps of your conversation. Enough to make me fear what all mothers fear. An accident or some disaster to those we love. I almost fainted. My ladies in waiting caught me in their arms. Please, speak it out, whatever it is. I can bear it. Your retroscopism in this family. Dear Queen, whom we all respect. I was there. I saw it all. Now tell you, it's best to tell the truth. I went with the king, your husband, to the edge of the battlefield. We saw the body of Ptolemais still lying in the well, and in a terrible state. The dogs were mine. So we prayed and asked the gods to have pity on him and on us, and not to be angry. Then we washed him, or what was left of him, with holy water, cut branches to make a pyre, and burned the remains.
Then we shoveled the mountains, uneven earth over the ashes, and when we were finished, hurried on as fast as we could to the prison cell furnished with stones that served as a bridal suite for the girl, married to death. But before we got there, a soldier with an unenviable job of guarding that godforsaken place came running to tell the king that he had heard a terrible noise, almost like screaming, coming from inside the mountain. And as Creon got near, we heard it too, faint but audible, almost like sobbing and moaning, low and unearthly, as if grief was speaking its own naked language. The king groaned aloud, but all heard him say, "Oh God, this is what I was afraid of. My prophet too. I can hear my son's voice in there. Quickly, find him." So we went and looked, and in the darkest corner we saw, strung up by the neck, hanging from an improvised rope of twisted linen, strips torn from her own dress. Haman was beside her, holding her body as it dangled there, sobbing broken-heartedly at his wife's death and that marriage bad luck, and his father's cruelty had made certain would never take place. When he saw them, he staggered into the cave, soft, groaning like a wild animal, sobbing, "My boy, my poor boy, what have you done? Come away from there. For God's sake, I beg you, come away!" The boy just looked at him, and his eyes were terrified, with an anger like I had never seen before. Without a word, he drew his sword and lunged straight for the old man. Creon was quick. He escaped out of distance. And the poor lad, his sterile coat of grief and self-disgust, held the sword at arm's length and plunged it into his own bosom. Still conscious, he lifted the girl into the crook of his arm, cradling her there in his own room. His breathing got harder and shorter as his light flooded away before our eyes, like a fountain soaking her body so her white cheeks flushed red again. So now, together, two corpses joined in death. We got his marriage, quietly sleeping side by side, evidence of the habit man freed upon man by his own bigotness and arrogance.
That's strange. What do you make of it? His wife was left without a word.
A public demonstration of grief would be unlike her. She'll suffer like any other mother for her son's death, but in private, with her women. She wouldn't do anything foolish or indiscreet, I'm sure of that. She's far too sensible.
Sort of silence is sometimes more threatening than screaming, tears.
You're right. I'll go and after her. Just make sure grief doesn't make her do anything foolish or indiscreet.
Look, the king approaches, but not alone. He suffers for his wrongdoing.
See here the killer and his victim. See here the father and his son. My hope, my pride, my joy. My hand powered the knife. My pride determined your fate.
You see the truth now, but you see it too late.
I am nothing. I have become nothing. Where shall I go?
My lord, you have suffered enough, but more suffering is marked. Your wife is dead. The son, the mother of the slaughtered son.
First my son, then his mother. No end to this grief!
She spoke of her elder boy, who also died in the fullness of his youth. By his bedside she wept, and a day when the sun was like that ended too soon. Haman, with her last dying breath, cursed you as his murderer! She skewered herself under the heart with a sword.
She spoke the truth. I am the murderer. Somebody, anybody, take me away! I disgrace the decent light of day. I am nothing. I have become nothing. Nothing can happen to a man who is nothing.
Tomorrow is a mystery. We live day by day. The future is in great
I am nothing. My last, simplest prayers.
What must come will come, tomorrow or today.
I am nothing. Darkness hide me. There's blood on my hands.
The key to human happiness is to nurture wisdom in your heart.
And for man to attend to man's business, and for the gods to play their part.
Above all, to stand in awe of the eternal, unalterable law.
A proud man may pretend in his arrogance to despise everything but himself.
But in the end, the gods will